god, that's Bettina uploaded a new video. Let me watch it.
Hi TikTok, this is Bettina. For today's video, I will show you through my Monday as an art student. So I'm on my way to my first class of the day. Our teacher asked us to answer Wordle.
Our word of the day is preserve. Now class, do you have any idea what the word preserve means?
She also announced a mini project that seemed to be a challenge. We will be making a mini thesis about indigenous art, which I am very excited to do. After that, I attended more class and finally got home. I changed clothes and ate dinner and worked on my initial research for our project. That's for Monday. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye! Hi TikTok, this is Bettina. Today is Tuesday and come get ready with me to go to school. Today's agenda would be working on my mini thesis. So by the time I reached school, I interviewed our professor, Ms. Lazaro. Hi, Ms. Lazaro! After that, I headed to my classes and by 4 p.m., I met with a friend outside of school premises. He is also one of my interviewees for my mini thesis. Say hi, AJ! Before I go home, I work on my mini thesis in a coffee shop. Hashtag aesthetic yarn. And that's for Tuesday. See you tomorrow. Bye! Good morning, everyone! I'm off to somewhere exciting today. I have no classes, but I'm out early because I'm about to meet a very important person. I'm headed to my professor's house to meet a staff from the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, which happens to be a friend of Prof. Lazaro. She is also one of my interviewees for my mini thesis. After that, I ate my lunch at McDo and went to a mall for leisure and to buy some stuff. I got home right after and then proofread my mini thesis before heading to bed. That's all for Wednesday. I won't upload an entry for tomorrow as I have a defense to prepare for. Wish me luck and bye everyone! Good morning, I am Bettina Lacap and today I'm going to present my mini thesis entitled Katutubong Sining, the Recorded Tales. But before I continue, the objectives of this thesis are as follows. Number 1, to gain additional insight on our country's indigenous art. Number 2, to ascertain how indigenous art forms that represent traditional cultural expression can be preserved in the Philippines. And lastly, to propose ways on how to protect and preserve the indigenous art of the Philippines. I interviewed 3 notable individuals in order to gather data for this thesis and learn about their perspectives on indigenous art, as well as their responsibilities and methods for conserving it. Now, I will present my mini thesis, Katutubong Sining, the Recorded Tales.
State your name. Elira Castro, a staff member of National Commission for Culture and the Arts.
I am Miss Lazaro, an arts management in the Philippines professor in the University of San Carlos.
My name is Alejandro Castro, the grandnephew of Gina Bilog.
Describe indigenous art in one word.
For me, indigenous art is a means of expression.
Diversity.
Tradition.
Do you think that globalization and modernization is a threat in preserving indigenous art?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
As an arts culture bearer, what is your role in preserving indigenous art?
Indigenous art is priceless to us and ought to be maintained wherever possible.
Because it serves as a record of both our diversity and progress as a race. And anything that helps us get more acquainted with the width and depth of our humanity tends to make us more compassionate. I think I contribute significantly to preserving and promoting the country's historical and cultural heritage as a member of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts personnel.
Since art touches every part of an indigenous person's life and is revered by the culture or background it originates from,
it occupies a far larger place in their worldview. Government and non-government organizations collaborate to promote, protect, and honor the native arts, customs, and practices of each nation.
indigenous ways of life are ingrained in our culture.
Our culture and traditions will follow us no matter where we end up, in another city or on the opposite side of the globe. It will be much simpler to educate others about the benefits that such native communities may provide if we simply accept and celebrate them.
I believe that teachers teach us things that will eventually help us succeed in life. Teachers do have a place in terms of culture. Though we might not know everything, we try our best to inculcate the traditions and their values to the minds of the younger generation. Since us teachers are older, We can share our experiences with these arts, if there is any, to help students relate and understand them one step at a time. The main role of teachers and educators in preserving indigenous art is to spread word about it. Aside from teaching it based on the curriculum, conducting activities involving the importance of indigenous art will hopefully make the youth interested enough in participating, and better if they will do further research about them to make their learnings concrete.
As a relative slash apprentice of Gino Bilog, I have an important role in preserving indigenous art, especially ambahan poetry. My role is to use what I learned from Gino Bilog, my grand uncle, to teach it to younger generations, as he used to teach us back then.
How can you help preserve and promote indigenous art against the threats of globalization and modernization?
It is necessary to identify it and examine the legal landscape to see if there are enough laws to protect it, and if not, suggest solutions for how to make the laws more effective. Legislation is only a part of the solution, though.
To effectively conserve the indigenous community's traditional cultural expressions, a more thorough strategy is required.
Although most TCEs are eligible for protection, not everyone will agree that this is the best course of action. Making the system sustainable requires balancing the interests of each of these stakeholders.
We should see indigenous art as the natural world. In that case, we should preserve these arts as if we're preserving the natural world. We should not take these arts for granted because we never know when a particular art will die. Indigenous art is very much part of our culture, so we should do our best to continue to experience its legacy and forms. Today, indigenous art is rarely heard and seen. We should promote them by celebrating them as part of our culture. This also leads to preserving them, since by celebrating, the artist would feel their art is still relevant up to this day, which will influence them to continue their legacy so that their art never dies.
I can help in preserving indigenous art against modernization by teaching younger generations in maintaining community culture and remembering traditions and languages.
The interviews that I received, it can be concluded that each individual has an own way of conserving indigenous art. As a student, I help preserve indigenous art by reviving my interest and learning more about it. In addition, there are things beyond the art itself to learn. The stories, culture, history, and identity of the indigenous people are equally important to understand when studying indigenous art. That concludes my 3-day thesis, Katutubong Sining the Recorded Tales. Once again, this is Bettina Lacap. Thank you for listening.